I'm Jen.
And I'm Craig.
And this is The Knot Project. And we are coming to you today with our first episode in our new series called Give Grace, where we are tackling hard things that couples wrestle with in the course of their marriage. And today we are opening up with the very calm, uncharged topic of money. So, I don't know, maybe money is charged and very emotional in your family. It definitely has been for us. And so we want to share a little bit with you guys about how we've been able to find balance in our very opposite ends of the spectrum way of dealing with our finances.
Yeah, so it's one of the topics that's of really supreme importance when you're starting out in your marriage. It was something that came up with us in our premarital counseling. It's something that I've talked with numerous couples about, and it's a source of stress and frustration and pain for a lot of couples. So we thought it was really important to kind of give a very high level overview of some of the things that we've learned through our time together. But if you look at it on a broad perspective, there's a spectrum of, on one side you have the spendthrifts, the folks where budget is
Loosey-goosey.
if it exists, it's loosey-goosey. And then on the other side, you have the folks where a budget is not only something to be followed and appreciated and honored, but absolutely respected and followed through under pain of affliction.
Pain and suffering.
Yeah, exactly. So when we were doing our 30 Days to Closer, Jen came across a money quiz that we'll put in the show notes, so you guys can do it too if you'd like.
That sounds like a romantic date night.
So obviously, well, maybe not obviously for you guys, but the people who know us know that I was on this side. I was what you would consider a spender, and Jen was
on the other side,
like,
with the saver.
On the other side of that wall, yeah. With the saver. I think the term was hoarder.
Which is ironic because I hate clutter. So I just maybe like hoarding money and nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about three things in particular that, as we were kind of discussing this and kind of talking about this topic and trying to distill it down into like a 5 to 7 minute video, how we could give you guys some actionable things to talk about as you guys are discussing money.
Yeah. So our core question this week is, how can we give grace to each other instead of battling against each other when it comes to our finances? And so we kind of came up with the three ABCs. Well, I guess the ABC, that would be three ways that you can give grace to your spouse. Because so often money becomes a battle, and our marriage relationship is not designed to be constantly battling with each other. Our spouse is not our enemy. And so to me, when we would have arguments about spending money or saving money or budgeting, long range plans, I viewed Craig's excessive spending, well, I guess excessive would be my opinion, but Craig's spending as a threat to my security, because I like following rules for the most part, and my attitude on money is, if I follow the rules, if I stay within my designated envelope, if I do the right thing and save and give money to church, then I'll be okay. And so if Craig started messing with my way of being okay, then I felt like he was threatening my security. Now, the reverse is when I became, we have to follow this recipe and do things X, Y, Z. And just FYI, Craig is not a rule follower. So in general, yeah, he's definitely more of the rebellious one out of the two of us. But when I became super controlling and put our finances on lockdown, when I freaked out, then I became a threat to his fulfillment. Because spenders like to spend money because it makes you feel good, right?
Well, yeah, but there's also things that you spend money on that you get enjoyment out of.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a balance, right? Yeah. Ultimately, God is my security. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, God is your security.
Yes.
And your fulfillment, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
And so if we're using money to replace God in our life, that's where a breakdown happens.
Yeah, so idols are idols, regardless of their form or what they are. So, first one we want to talk about is A, of course, which in the ours starts with activate compassion. So invariably you're going to run into, as you discuss this topic with your spouse, it's going to be an emotional topic if you're being honest and you're really getting down to the nitty gritty of it. And one of the things that you want to be able to keep in the forefront of your mind is the ultimate goal behind having this conversation is to make sure that you guys are on the same page about getting a financial plan together, and then something that both of you guys can stick to, and understanding that as in the course of this conversation and in the course of running the family finances together, however roles you decide who does what. For example, Jennifer is the one that actually pays the bills every month. She likes it.
So I see all the amounts of money in my envelope. It makes me feel good.
Yes.
Yeah. Except when the envelopes are empty, then I don't feel so good.
So occasionally when things get tight, she gets a little stressed. She gets a little clingy and a little bit of and fearful and anxiety. And I can respond to that in a variety of different ways. Some of them good and some of them bad. But if I'm activating compassion, I realize that, hey, this is an area that is very sensitive to her, and I can be sensitive to that and sensitive to her and show some compassion. At the same time, realizing that, my predisposition of spending needs to be kept in check so it doesn't push her further into that realm of anxiety and fear, and reminding her that we're a team and that we want to accomplish the same goals, and that I support her and I support the vision and the plan that we have, the financial plan we have for the family.
So activating compassion for Craig means that when I get stressed out about money, he doesn't just say, "It's going to be fine, don't worry about it." It's like telling a 3-year-old who's having a temper tantrum to just calm down. It doesn't work, right? If you're not calm, there's a reason why you're not calm. And so when he's compassionate, I feel like he's saying, I see that all of your anxiety and all your fear is totally, off the charts. So I just want to validate you and say, we are working this together on this, and we have the same goals. Let's figure out what we need to do to regroup.
Never in the history of freakouts has it ever worked to tell the person who's freaking out, just calm down.
If it works for y'all, we want to hear about it.
Yeah, free advice. Okay.
Okay, all right. So, giving grace, 3 ways. A, activate compassion. B is beware of your baggage. So, when I am in my full-on freak out, oh my gosh, the coffers are empty mode, I tend to, all that worrying and perseverating just feeds my myth of scarcity, right? I'm so afraid that we're not going to have enough money that I just assume that we're never going to have enough money, right? And I worry, like worry is going to produce money. That, if we could patent that, the amount of worry in the world and make money on worry, that would be, well, it wouldn't be very nice, but okay. So I need to be aware that when I start freaking out, that I am choosing not to trust God, that if I'm doing the best that I can do, that just has to be good enough. And if we're involving God in our financial decision, there are just going to be times when there's less, right? It's cyclical. The water heater breaks, the car breaks down. All the time we have unexpected expenses, and you can only save so much, right? So I need to be aware that when I am in my myth of scarcity mode, that I can very easily influence how Craig sees himself as a provider. So in our household, Craig brings in a majority of the income. Blogging doesn't generate a whole lot of money for us right now. So his primary function, besides being awesome and a great dad and husband, is to bring in money. And so if I'm constantly harping, saying there's not enough money, then he feels bad about himself, about not being a good provider. And our job as spouses is to build each other up. And so I need to be aware of how my baggage, my unhealthy relationship with money in the sense that it gives me security, can really impact Craig and how he feels about himself.
Yeah. And finally, we want to talk about the C word, which for some of you guys might be a sensitive word, but it's compromise. And we've already kind of alluded to this a few times in this discussion, is, especially if you're on opposite ends of the spectrum, you need to kind of meet in the middle. And there's times when you'll need to compromise. You need to say, well, I really want this thing, and the money's not there yet, but to be patient and save for that item. Or it could be, hey, this is really a need that the family has, and where can we take that money from, or where can we borrow money from, or
what can we go without?
Yeah, what can we go without in order to get these things? Yeah,
right.
And then also realizing that even if you're on the same side of the spectrum, especially if you're on the spend side, that you kind of balance each other out and kind of remind each other of what the goal is for your finances as a couple and as a family. Because ultimately, God wants us to be prosperous. He doesn't want us to...
not that we believe in the prosperity gospel.
No, but I'm saying that, He doesn't want us to necessarily live in poverty either. I mean, He has plans to bless us and prosper us and just to have a full, and Jesus said He came to bring us life and life abundantly, and that doesn't necessarily mean material things, but it certainly means not living
dressing and wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So we want to encourage you guys to take some time this week and sit down. If you haven't discussed it as a couple in a while, or if you haven't discussed it at all, to start the conversation. If it's something you haven't talked in a while, or if you don't have a budget, we highly encourage you guys to discuss what that would look like for you guys. There's a variety of different options out there. I know that we use a couple of different softwares that have been very helpful. Using similar to the Dave Ramsey envelopes idea.
Yeah, the financial piece.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there's over 2,000 Bible verses in the Bible about money. So God knows that it's something that's important and something that you need to handle well and responsibly. But just like, I feel like for us, even though we've been on opposite sides of the spectrum, God has really used it to bring us both in the middle in we have a healthier relationship with money and a healthier relationship with each other because of it. And I think one of the things that is, if you take away anything from this, is that the money's not mine and the money's not Craig, and we could say that it's ours, but it's not even ours. It's God. It's God's. God gave us everything that we have, and it's our job to be a good steward of that. And it's our responsibility. But God never intended it to be something that destroys marriages at all. He's totally for marriage and wants you to be healthy in this area. And so we just really encourage you guys to figure out, activate your compassion for each other. We all come in with baggage, and then beware of your own baggage, and then come to a place where you can really compromise, and so that this doesn't continue to drive a wedge between you guys.
Right.
All right, so go out and give grace. We'll see y'all next week.